So I'm going to teach people how to use the Seidel Seed system for building a business process modeling map. It's browser based, so we're just going to type SYDLE Seidel.com, www.seidel.com, and we're now looking at the Seidel website. It's based in Brazil, so it's Portuguese as a natural language. So let's click to the English interface, which is actually a little bit simpler, and we're going to log in. And what we're going to use is we're going to use BSA underscore member dash, and you can use a number here, BSA member dash 1 through 4. I'm going to choose 3 because it's what I've used before. Forgot to enter my password. Let's try that again. BSA member 3 at. Now, the first time you enter it, you're going to have to say BSA member dash number 1 through 4 at bsa2016.seidel.com. So that's the actual full username, although it will give you the so-called domain name, that is to say everything that follows the at when you subsequently log in. And password is mvd underscore map, capital MVD underscore lowercase MAP. Enter. And this is the sort of top level Seidel interface. So let's click on modeling because that's what we want to do. And over here on the left, we see BSA Information Standards Subcommittee. We open that. We see there's a construction business process model. If we double click on that, we now are looking at the process model that was the one that I showed in the first WebEx meeting. So this is basically the playground. This is a place where we can sort of sit and look at things. Just to recap briefly, the swim lanes and the participants are shown here on the left, and they're really not individuals. They're really parties to the process. So owner/owner rep, healthcare code consultant, architect, engineer energy, engineer geotech, engineer structure MEP, engineer skin, engineer telecom, quantity surveyor, general contractor, and then subcontractors for structural, MP, electrical, and skin. So that's the kind of thinking about the size of the primary team that we'd have during the information exchange part of this whole process for design, bidding, procurement, and construction. Obviously, it can get a lot more detailed than that, but I'm really trying to avoid getting too crazy with it. So basically, you log in, you click on the modeling tab, you come to the modeling here, you double click on construction business process model, which is our shared model, and pretty much that's it. Now, selecting anything here gets you information about whatever it is you've selected over here, and sometimes there's not really a whole lot of information. You can look at stuff, but you really can't edit it, and that's because we're not in edit mode. But you can select things, and you can say, okay, this is the identifier that Seidel Seed assigns to everything. You don't need to worry about that. But here's the title, but I can't actually edit it, even though it thinks I can, until I go into edit mode. Edit mode is this button up here. Once you click on edit mode, it actually tells me that another person has got this model open, which I do back on my other account. But we can say, okay, we want to continue. And once you go into edit mode, this darkens and you have a variety of tools up here at your disposal. And if you select something and you decide you want to edit it, now you can actually make changes. So that's the basics. Let's talk a little bit about the kind of tools we want to use and how the tools work. Um, to create a new task, I prefer just using the generic task tool, which you access by clicking on the little downward arrow here. And then, of course, the tool will highlight with the proper generic task. And then you just have to click in the document. Notice it's giving you the little plus next to the cursor. And so this gives me a new generic task. As I place things on the canvas, so to speak, more space is afforded me to play with. So here's a generic task, and I want to actually give it a name. So let me note what happened there. I just selected that generic task and then right-clicked on it, and I have all these different possibilities. And not all of which, frankly, I'll be honest with you, I've explored, but I'm just going to use the rename tool, and let's just say prepare notations, no, prepare specifications for CDs, contract documents. And I hit enter, and now that's my title. Notice that when something is selected, it gets this little dash around it, and you also see this little widget on the right, which is an arrow. So what's happened, so I can easily say, well, the owner's approved design documentation, my design documentation dropped, so I'm going to begin preparing specifications for construction documents. There it is, and maybe I don't want to have the arrow go that way. Maybe I want to have the arrow come down into the top of the new task that I've created, the new link arrow. So I can just drag it over using the little diamond-shaped widget. Well, it's a diamond when it's selected, but it's kind of just a circle before it's selected. So I can basically say I can drag that any way I want. And notice I can't drag or select a link except by that little handle. So I can play with different things. I can make my document look differently, and just to make things get things to read clearly, that's a very handy thing. I can also drag the handle around a bit and control different parts of it. Line things up if I want to be really crazy and particularly obsessive compulsive about it. Also, if I want to delete a link, I can delete a link by clicking on that again on that little round handle. So I can rename. So I can actually name a link. Or most of the time I actually like to put in what's called an intermediate event along a link to represent the actual thing that I'm exchanging. Although that may not be not be what we decide to do as a group, and we can sort of all talk about this. But once you've linked these things together, then they stay linked, and this, I mean, it basically behaves according to expectations. So it's a pretty decent graphical environment for doing this kind of work. Right-clicking anything gives you a set of operations, including rename and delete. Rename gives you just the name. If you click on properties, you get all the information in the properties up here. It sort of gives you this again. I find myself just using rename a lot too, because that's most of the time the simple descriptions of what are necessary. So when I'm done with the construction business process model, whatever changes I've made to it, if I want to explore around, one of the process model does not allow zooming in and out. It's always one size, and that's a limitation. As you can see, I've been mostly doing work on the schematic design and design development phases that an architect would see, because that's my background and kind of the piece that I'm most familiar with. But I'm hoping some of you with construction and or I'm particularly looking for some people with some quantity surveying expertise can help us flesh out those parts of the process. Anyway, once you're done, there's no saving per se. You don't have to save the document. It basically just remembers what state it's in. Once you're finished with it with a session, all you have to do is turn off edit mode by clicking it again. It de-highlights and the tools go away, and that's how no that's essentially a save of state. And then you can log out, and you're done. And you can come back to www.seidel.com and log in again. As I say, well, you will have the link to this. You should have already the link to this video. It should be how you got here, and also all the login information in the email that I sent you. Please feel free to send me back an email if you have any questions at all on this. I'm pretty confident that nobody here is going to cause any serious problem. I don't want to be over restrictive in the use of it, so I kind of want just this to be a bit of a sandbox and for us all to kind of pile in and play around. So feel free to add stuff, delete links, insert extra little widgets in the links, add stuff, extend it out, and we will be meeting again in a little bit over a week. And I look forward to seeing you then.